back to China Through SGlasses. I'm Wu Fan.
And I'm Jingnan.
Maybe episode 1 brought you here, or maybe we were blessed by the algorithm and you found us through the internet rabbit hole.
Either way, by the time episode 2 comes out, it will be
Chinese New Year!
Very early this year, it will be on the 22nd of January for 大年初一, and we are not ready.
Yeah, not ready at all. It's like we're gonna grow 1 year older because it's gonna be our 本命年, which is the year of our zodiac.
We're going to grow 1 year older either way. It just happens to be our 本命年.
But you know the concept of 虚岁?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like based on lunar calendar, then like if it passes the Chinese New Year, you just automatically add 1 to your year.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter when you were born. Like
yeah.
So, do you want to explain what's the concept of 本命年? What is 本命年in English?
Okay, the direct translation would be the year that corresponds to
your zodiac.
Yeah. So in Chinese culture, there are 12 zodiac animals, and we are both rabbits, which I think is the cutest.
No comment.
No, for real, like every zodiac's animal sometimes has like a negative connotation, right? Like let's say if you're born of a pig, people are like, aha, pig, like glutton. But rabbit is like, what can you say about it? It's just cute.
You're small and cunning and I don't
know. That one sounds like a rat, huh?
Yeah. No, but yeah, actually there's not much associations with the rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But yes, as we mentioned, it is the year of the rabbit, and we are both going to experience our year of our zodiac, and it comes with both good things and bad things, I guess.
Yeah.
So basically when it's your because the zodiac is in there are 12 animals and it comes in a cycle of 12. So every 12 years you will reach your year of the zodiac, and every time it reaches your year of the zodiac, you need to do this thing called 安太岁, because technically you have 犯太岁. I don't know how to explain it, but okay, 太岁 is apparently this like god that you offend because it is your year of the zodiac.
I think it's a bit like, you know, when two bimbos wear the same costume. Then they're like, oh my god, you're wearing my clothes. There can only be one person wearing this outfit. I think it's similar vibes.
Basically, you have offended this particular god, and because it is your year of the zodiac, so you need to appease that god by making offerings and like going to the temple and praying at the start of the year.
Yeah.
To ensure that you do not suffer the wrath of the god for offending them for the rest of that year. Yeah. So, do you have any experience with 安太岁?
My family is not very religious in the praying department. But I remember when I was 12, my mom got me to wear red underwear for my for Chinese New Year. And also, when you're 12 years old, most of the time, for most people, or rather, at 12 years old, you will be going for PSLE, which is our primary school leaving examination that determines your life onwards for secondary school. So, like, wearing red underwear was also good luck for PSLE lah, which is like 12 months later.
Yeah.
Same year.
The idea is basically that the red underwear, so red, as you may know, is an auspicious color according to Chinese people.
Yeah.
So wearing red underwear is kind of like having a good luck charm on you at all times.
It's like 趋吉避凶, which means you
welcome like the good luck
and you push away the bad luck. Kind of.
Yeah, it's like having a good luck charm on you. And technically you're supposed to wear red underwear, or at least like buy some red underwear for the year of your zodiac, but I'm not doing that. My mom almost wanted to buy me red underwear. She's like, do you want red underwear? I'm like, no, please, for the love of God, no. Yeah, I actually never went to like do any of this when I was 12. So like that's the first time I ever 犯太岁, right? So this year I asked my mom, am I supposed to do it? And she said like, better like safe than sorry.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the mindset of like Chinese people. So I guess I'm supposed to go to the 太岁庙 after like Chinese New Year. My mom consulted her friend who apparently does this regularly. And then basically you're supposed to go after Chinese New Year. Yeah, but before 15. Okay. Yeah, another thing that we should explain to people is that Chinese New Year is not just the New Year. Technically speaking, Chinese New Year lasts 15 days.
Yes.
So the celebration starts like on Chinese New Year Eve, kind of like which is called 除夕. It's the reunion dinner and most of the festivities that you like associate with Chinese New Year. It actually happens on
like Christmas Eve lah.
Yeah, it's like Christmas Eve. It happens on Chinese New Year's Eve. And then from then technically, if you're really traditional, there's something you should do like every single day for like the next 15
Oh
days.
yeah. 初一 do what? 初二 do what? There's like a little rhyme.
Yeah.
Then there's like the 财神爷 day
there's
also.
many,
Yeah.
many things going on. But yeah, then technically the last day of Chinese New Year is actually the 15th. And all of this is going by the lunar calendar. That's why they call it the Lunar New Year.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, and then I think the 15th you're supposed to eat 汤圆, right? Or 元宵, whatever you call it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. But depends on where you're from. Cause in Beijing we just eat dumplings for everything.
Yeah. We will get to that. We will get to all the Chinese New Year customs in China versus Singapore. We can talk about our Chinese New Year rituals because there's a bit of a difference between what we are used to back home in China versus what is kind of prevalent in Singapore when it comes to Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
So do you want to go over what is prevalent in Singapore first, and then we can compare between the two of us our differences from where like we came from respectively.
Yeah. Okay. So in Singapore, I think the most obvious thing is to lao yu sheng, which is like
or lo hei, they call lo hei.
It's called lo hei. Yeah.
Lo hei is I think Cantonese for lao shen.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, but lao yu sheng is almost like a corporate activity nowadays. I see like companies buy like humongous yu sheng packages, which is like usually it has salmon, which is where the yu is from, fish, and then it has like carrot, cucumber, different kinds of fruits that taste crispy and fresh. Yuzu, pomelo. I can't remember. There are also like tofu crackers and stuff that people like to sprinkle on top.
Bean curd skin, I think.
Yeah. There's also like the vegetarian, vegan options also. Halal options also. But anyway, then what people do is everybody gets a pair of chopsticks and then like all hell breaks loose, okay? Like, everybody just stuff their freaking chopsticks in and just whip it. Okay, no. Okay. Just try to pull it as high as possible because the higher it is, the better your luck for the year will be.
Like it's supposed to symbolize the height of like your achievements. So like okay, a bit of like etymology is Yu Shen is Mandarin for fish raw. Like it literally is fish raw. So it basically is it kind of originates from the Cantonese region. The reason I say kind of originates is because it is not even Chinese. Like the reason why we are bringing this up as a first and foremost like culprit of Singaporean Chinese New Year rituals is because it is like it is the first of a list of many things that are deemed as Chinese in Singapore but are not remotely Chinese in China. So basically the history of Yu Shen or Lo Hei is that Cantonese people eat raw fish for Chinese New Year because you're supposed to eat fish for Chinese New Year because it means prosperity and abundance. Yeah,
because yu sounds like yu.
Yeah, it's a pun on words. Chinese people love their puns.
Yes.
But the thing is, that's it. That Cantonese people just eat raw fish. Like it's like legit like sashimi. That's all they do. But what happened was in the late like 1980s. I think like 1960s, 1960s, sorry, 1960s. The Singaporean Chinese community had 4 chefs that were like the 4 heavenly kings, and they were the ones that invented the actual like format of the various like shredded vegetables and other things, and the whole ceremony and ritual of tossing it as high as you can. Like that whole like performative aspect of it is very much Singaporean. So you will have Cantonese people from mainland China eating actual fish, like raw fish, but they don't do any of the things that you mentioned. That's why it's the tossing, like the thing that is so fundamental to Lao Yu Shen is actually not Chinese at all. And it's also you're supposed to say like
we would say not mainland Chinese at all. It's still Chinese.
Yes,
but it's not mainland Chinese.
Yeah. And during the when you kind
you're supposed to say idioms lah. Based on the ingredients that you're tossing around. Okay, actually it's okay, the corporate one is you buy the whole thing, right? Then it comes in little packages. Then you add the packages in. Then like every time you add something, you say something. So for example, like
you say a single like a blessing or like something good for the new year.
Yeah, it's like let's say if you put peanuts, which are like 花生 in Chinese, then you say 早生贵子 or something, cause 生 sounds like 生 and it means like having a lot of kids. And stuff like that. And then there's also like 金玉满堂 when you put in pomelo, cause pomelo is golden colour and it means like have a lot of gold and fortune for the year and stuff like that. But the thing is, right, for most of the Lao Yu Shengs I've been to, people just go through the motions and the fun of it. And like, it's always the awkward moment when nobody knows what to say. It's like, there's a common understanding, I don't know what idiom to say.
No, you know what they do? First of all, I just want to say, the fun of it, the fun of it. What is the fun of it? It is just like a chaos. it's just like an excuse for people to have a all-out food war where they just throw food everywhere. I can guarantee you when you go to events, like none of the food not say none, majority of the food don't get eaten because they end up on ceilings, they end up on the ground, they end up everywhere.
That's very true, really very
it's
true.
Really, like, I remember when I was
when
I was in JC, I remember like witnessing the boys, because our secondary school was a girls' school, and only in JC
we were very civilized.
We were very civilized.
Yes.
And then we saw the boys do yushan, like Lao
They are
yushan.
like gremlins from hell.
Honestly, it was hell unleashed. They were like standing on a table and they were yelling. And in a response to you saying that people were awkward, they were not awkward at all, because you know what they say in replacement of all the idioms, they just scream "What ah!"
Okay, that is very true. What ah is a damn Singaporean term to say. It's like just Happy New Year. What ah? I just see people write that.
You don't need to. It's like okay. Let's explain what "What ah" is. What is
fa cai the fa.
What is fa in, I guess, either Cantonese or Hokkien. I think it's Cantonese.
Let me just Google that real quick. Hokkien.
It's Hokkien. Okay. So basically, Hua just means like
fa,
which means like rich.
Fa cai.
Yeah, just
get
rich. And it's like something that people just go to say whenever they have nothing else to say. And in this case, the guys obviously had nothing to say because they didn't know what was going on. I mean, like, they didn't know what the idioms were to say, and they don't really care. They were not even like, the thing that really disgusted me was the fact that they just left a mess. And like, yeah, it was okay. I mean, yes, it is if you do it in a civilized manner, yushan is a very fun activity.
Yeah.
If you do not have teenage
also
boys
the
involved.
salmon tastes very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the no boys involved part is very important.
Applies to more than just yushan. Applies to life in general.
Yeah, but like from a health perspective, right? Given that how the rest of CNY dishes tend to be kind of oily and meaty.
Kind of.
The kind of laugh nervously. The yushan actually ends up being like a very nice salad that cleans your palate. Like cereal.
Chinese New Year food, as with most like festival food, like if you think not festival, like festive food. If you imagine like, you know, Christmas food, it's not meant to be healthy. It's meant for you to like pig out like during that one time of the year.
Yeah, and also in the past, people really like pour in all their resources to celebrate one times good one, right? Then be poor for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
so it's like they really eat all the meat in that one point in time.
Yeah, like my mom, I was talking to my mom about Chinese New Year when doing research for this episode.
Okay.
And she was saying that she liked Chinese New Year as a kid because that meant that she would get to eat all the things that she would never eat during the rest of the year.
Yeah, oh
like
my God,
meat. They would not be able to like afford meat for like the entire year, and then they would eat meat during Chinese New Year, and like they would get new clothes and candy, which is like snacks and sweets are a luxury in the past
for them. Yeah.
So yeah, that's
number one.
That's number one on our long list of things that are not Chinese.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is
Bakwa.
Kind of Chinese. Yeah, it's bakwa. Do you want to explain what bakwa is?
Bakwa means 肉干, but I also don't know which language group this came from.
Which dialect group?
Which dialect group this came from? Yeah, but it means 肉干, and it's it literally means meat dried lah. So it's like a bit salty, a bit sweet, and a bit barbecued. It's like
the most Western equivalent would be jerky. It's like preserved dried meat that is like smoked and barbecued. Yeah.
But I would say our version tastes better.
Yes, I agree. Sure. I agree.
Yeah, and I think there's this company in Singapore called Mei Zhen Xiang that used to have a very big monopoly, but now there are like 2 or 3 other.
Bi Cheng Hiang? I think that's their English name. Yeah. So basically, it is actually okay. So as compared to yushan, it is more Chinese because it is not like created by Singaporeans. There is actually bakwa in China, and people do eat it for Chinese New Year as well. It's just that Singapore and Malaysia has made bakwa on their own by making it more smoked and more like they use charcoal as compared to air drying it and stuff like that. So it's gotten to a point where, like you mentioned, Mei Zhen Xiang or Bi Cheng Hiang is so famous amongst like Singapore, like for being Singaporean and Malaysian, that if Chinese tourists came, they would buy and bring it back as a delicacy, even though technically they have bakwa in China. But yeah, so people typically like to eat it during Chinese New Year, and they like to give it as a gift. So I think a very big part of Chinese culture is this concept of 礼尚往来. Like you don't go to someone's house empty-handed, and you know, like you kind of go be bearing gifts, and so during Chinese New Year you go visiting a lot, which we'll explain later, and therefore you need to bring gifts, and one of the popular gifts is to give bakwa. So it's not just a popular thing to eat, it's also a popular thing to gift, which gives like lends itself the problem of you have like people tending to have too much bakwa by the end of Chinese New Year.
Too much of everything, actually.
Yeah, this is a segue to an abomination to humanity that I'm going to tell you about, which is called bakwa sandwiches. So I am appalled to, and sincerely sorry to introduce you to this idea if you've never heard of it, but basically what happened is...
It looks good, just saying.
No, you're so wrong on this. Okay, so the first time I learned about bakwa sandwiches was in fact in secondary school. That was
wow.
Yeah, so I remember...
Your world got dark early lah.
Yeah, I remember it was after Chinese New Year, and I came to school early in the morning, and I was eating my breakfast, and then my friend like took out her breakfast, and I was like, what are you eating? And she said, bakwa sandwich. Okay. So basically it was leftover bakwa sandwiched between two pieces of white bread. It was the most like astounding thing to my 13-year-old brain that I could imagine. I was just like, but like I just could not imagine someone eating that concoction. I guess the best equivalent is like turkey sandwiches after Thanksgiving, but it's so much more gross than turkey sandwiches. I don't know, like leftover cold bakwa between two slices of white bread. Like imagine putting beef jerky between two slices of white bread and calling it a sandwich.
Okay, stay real. I think right, the concept is okay. Your friend's execution is the problem.
Like, how will you improve upon
like
this?
Okay, I what I would do is I would grill the bread or something so that it's like crispy, and then I will heat up the bakwa, and then maybe I'll add like some like tomatoes or something to make it like, no, stay real. It's really just like ordering Subway, but instead you just get bakwa.
That sounds nasty.
I know. Why are you gatekeeping food? Like seriously, we're in Singapore. #melting pot of cultures, man.
No, okay, I just thought it was very, very funny.
Well, okay, this is the first time I heard about it. I only heard about it from Jingnan, but
yeah,
I'm accepting the concept. I will prove it this year.
Oh my god. Yeah, but anyway, so that is a short detour on Bakwa Island. We're moving straight ahead to another thing that is these are all like Chinese New Year goodies that you will see at every corner, at every turn in Singapore during Chinese New Year, which is right now. But you will never see in China love letters or kueh kapit. Do you want to explain what love letters are?
For the record, right? I don't even think they look like love letters. Okay. But I think it's because it's a rolled up scroll lah. Right? Yeah. Okay. So it's an Indonesian wafer snack. So kueh is like it's not really like tau, but it's like various kinds of kuehs are various kinds of desserts and snacks. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. So it's made by clasping egg batter using an iron mold. So it's like a waffle iron. Then they put like egg on it. And it's commonly found in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei.
So Southeast Asia.
Which is also the places with a lot of Chinese people. Yeah. Yeah.
So like okay, it's how do I explain it? It's like imagine you get like a waffle, like those, you know when you go to ice cream shops, like those ice cream like expert shops, and they make their ice cones, they make their cones fresh. It's something like that, but make it thinner, way thinner, like paper thin, and then you roll. It's like an egg roll.
So
like
instead of a cone shape, it's like a cylindrical shape.
Yeah,
and it's like flakier.
Yeah, so it just yeah, so the name love, it's also called love letter because like Wu Fan mentioned, it looks like a scroll, so it I don't know why they call it love letter, but they could have just called it a letter.
# colonial history.
Yeah, but basically this is a thing that's eaten during Chinese New Year, even though it's not Chinese, it's Indonesian, and it's not even Indonesian, it's Dutch. It's Dutch, like according to my research, it's kind of inherited from the Dutch during the colonial times. So yeah, and if you see a trend, right, it's that like if you go onto the streets these days and ask any Singaporean, I will guarantee you that they do not know the history of any of these like snacks, and they just assume that this is Chinese.
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
Like I vaguely knew that some of these things are not Chinese because I'm from China.
Like you compare with your own personal experience, right?
Yeah, because I've never seen them in China, so I don't know they're not Chinese. But I never knew like the historical and colonial past of most of these snacks until I had to do the research for this.
Subscribe to our podcast.
Okay, like, okay, two more kind of
3 more lah.
yeah, two more snacks and one kind of ritual, I guess, before we go on. And then the another type of food is that is also a snack that is also very popular. It's called kueh bangkit. It's the I didn't know it's called kueh bangkit. I just know it's the small white one. So you
wow, that's racist.
No, like you will go to a supermarket and there'll be shelves of different types of like Chinese New Year goodies.
Okay, wait. Let us describe the mental image first.
Yes.
It's always like a humongous fat tub that is like plastic and transparent.
With a red jar.
lid. Yeah, it's always a red lid.
Jar,
and then there's like so many types of those things with like various unhealthy snacks.
It's all butter and sugar.
Yeah, basically.
And oil. And yeah. And like, so there's different, you will see like different colors and different things going on inside. There will be the like little prawn rolls and like there's so many different types of food. So the one biscuit we're talking about is kueh bangkit. It's the white one. I don't know how to explain it. So it's just small and white. Okay, I'm sorry. Essentially, it is made out of sago starch, which is of Malay origin, commonly found in Indonesia and Malaysia. In Malaysia, it's associated with Malays and Nonya communities. It is a typical traditional Malay cookie, mostly associated with Hari Raya and Chinese New Year. See, it caught like this is all from Wikipedia. It is a traditional Malay cookie, but it is associated with Chinese New Year. Like I'm just so very confused at how things like.
But if you think about it, right, there's like quite a Baba Nonya culture, right? Yeah. Even within Singapore. Yeah. So Baba Nonyas is like I guess a cultural Peranakans, and they are descendants of Chinese and Malay people. Yeah.
And I think the reason why so they're called Peranakans, and the males are called Babas and the women are called Nonyas. And I think basically, Peranakan culture is very influential in Singapore. If you've taken Singapore Airlines, the uniform is actually from Peranakan fabric. Like the design is very much Peranakan. I think something that people kind of gloss over for whatever reason, probably because convenience sake of like whitewashing history. But part of the reason, I'm not saying the entire reason, part of the reason why Peranakans are so influential in Singapore is not just because they have a very unique culture, but also because they tend to be very wealthy.
Also, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew is Peranakan.
Oh, really? Yeah. Lee Kuan Yew is Peranakan? I had no idea.
Yeah. Our founding father is Peranakan.
You're making it sound like we are like a kind of personality.
Hey, no. I just like, it was cool to find that out.
I had no idea. Okay, another thing, so the thing that about Peranakans is that they tend to be of upper middle class.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, no, because like, they tend to be very wealthy and hold a lot of resources. They kind of you point have been made. Not
Thanks for sharing.
Not gonna step further into this minefield.
Okay, the next one.
Last one is almost as famous as Lao Yushen.
Yeah.
I think even possibly more famous depending on who you ask.
It's way less healthy. It's an explosion of pimples on your face.
Yes, exactly. It is pineapple tarts. Yeah. So pineapple tarts, I think, are the most popular Chinese New Year goodies. They are sold year-round by Bengawan Solo every time I walk by.
Oh, yes.
Bengawan Solo is famous for two things. Their pineapple tarts and their pandan chiffon cake. Yeah. So basically, pineapple tarts they come in two forms. One form is the round one where it's completely the pastry goes all around it and the filling is pineapple jam. The second type is the exposed, where it looks like a nipple. It's like a little pastry butter cookie at the bottom, and then the pineapple jam is exposed on top. It like imagine like a little flower, but like a sunflower, but the center is like pineapple jam.
I will never pronounce pineapple as pineapple anyway. It's like pineapple now.
Yeah, so pineapple tarts are again not Chinese. They were allegedly created by Peranakans, and again, pineapples themselves are not even local to the area of Asia. They are the pineapples originate from South America, and they were brought to Asia and the Malay Peninsula by Portuguese merchants. So it is considered it is considered a festive cookie, popular during Hari Raya, Chinese New Year, and Deepavali in Singapore and Malaysia.
Hold up, even Deepavali?
Who the hell is eating pineapple tarts during Deepavali?
Yeah, legit, I never seen before in Deepavali, yeah. Okay, that's very cool.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe Wikipedia has it right. Has it wrong? I'm not sure. We need to make more Indian friends and ask them to invite us to Deepavali to find out.
Okay, I have quite a number of Indian friends and they don't eat pineapple tarts.
Yeah, then Wikipedia is wrong.
But wait. Okay, Okay, but that being said, India is also a very big country.
Yes,
there are also
true.
regional differences. So yeah.
And it's not like I don't think India, like I don't think like the actual country of India is pineapple tarts. I think it's very much Singapore and Malaysia.
Indians,
yeah, again diaspora. But anyway, so all like most of the food are out of the way. The last food item is more of a practice than it is a food because they don't eat it. We're talking about Mandarin oranges. Yeah, they don't explain.
Okay lah, just to preface so that we don't sound like food wasters. We try to finish lah. But like every family probably buys like one whole box because if
not box, a carton.
Oh yeah, carton. Sorry. How do you even explain the size of a carton? Just imagine, okay,
it's like what,
you can
20, 30?
You can hug it and you need to actually use strength to carry it. You need to do the squat down method to carry the whole.
You need to do deadlifts with a box of Mandarin oranges.
Okay, so the custom is you bring 2 Mandarin oranges per human being, per person who's visiting. You put it in your hands, then you offer it to the person like palms up. Then you will say some stuff like 大吉大利, which sounds like Mandarin oranges, cause 吉 is like 橘, which is like 橘子 for Mandarin oranges. But you know, but kids nowadays, if they don't really know their Chinese idioms very well, they just say 恭喜发财, which means hey yo, get good fortune, you know?
No, 恭喜发财. No, I think this is so interesting. 恭喜发财
红包拿来.
No, 恭喜发财 is the most common saying like holiday blessing during Chinese New Year, and it doesn't even say like Happy Chinese New Year. It literally translates to congratulations on getting wealthy.
Yeah.
Which is like so like I saw
it's back to the Hua culture lor.
Yeah, I saw a stand-up comedy bit on like how wealth obsessed, money obsessed Chinese people are. That for your like biggest festival, the blessing you say to each other is not even like Merry Christmas or Happy New Year. It's literally congratulations ahead on getting like rich in the new year. It's so hilarious to me. But anyway, yeah. So like the whole thing about, you want to explain like the swapping of the oranges, that you're not just supposed to give it to the host. So basically, when you go visiting, you're definitely not supposed to go empty-handed. So the bare minimum that you need to bring in Singapore is the 2 oranges per person. So let's say you are a family of 5. You need to bring 10 oranges to your host family.
Yes.
And the host family need to give you 10 oranges back.
Yes.
But they cannot be the same oranges that you gave them. Yeah. So you have to buy 10 oranges.
That's why everybody has a whole carton at home ready for swapping.
And they have to buy 10 oranges. Yes. And so you go home with 2. So you leave the house with 10 oranges and you go home with 10 oranges. Yes. But those are not the exact ones that you left the house with. It sounds very... You
realize how COVID unsafe this practice.
It sounds very insane now that you verbalize it. But it's so normal in Singapore.
Yeah.
And again, it is not widely practiced throughout China. It started in parts of southern China, and again, Cantonese speaking people, as we can see, they are very influential in Singapore. But like, it's not a thing in China. Like Chinese, majority of China, I would say, does not practice swapping of oranges.
None of my families do this.
Yeah, but neither does my family. Nobody does this.
Is it because Mandarin oranges don't exist in winter? Is it like not the season for it?
First of all, Mandarin oranges doesn't even exist in the northern part of China.
Oh.
Right, there's this saying, right, where you like 在南方是橘子，在北方是
这里橘生淮南 something.
Yeah, 橘生淮南. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, so like again, if the fruit doesn't even exist in parts of China, then this practice does not, take root in other parts of China. So yeah, basically, it is meant to. The word is sounds similar to the Cantonese word for gold.
Never mind, I'll say that later.
Yeah, making the exchange of oranges symbolic for wishing one prosperity. If you get the theme of Chinese New Year, it's very much money, prosperity, achievements, like very earthly, materialistic things. But we don't fault them.
My family not there. Just saying.
We don't fault them, but like, this is very much what Chinese New Year is about. Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, okay. So like if you came here from episode 1, right, we actually talked about how we came from Chinese secondary school and junior college. And then our secondary school in particular was very Chinese. So for Chinese New Year, the class chairperson has to give the form teachers Mandarin oranges.
Yeah.
And the thing is, right, I was the class chairperson and my vice chairperson forgot to bring Mandarin oranges to school. But I was very big brain. Guess what I did that year? I brought orange juice from the canteen.
Wait, what was the teacher's response?
She was very amazed. She said that it was a much more useful gift because she was very sick of Mandarin oranges.
No, here's the thing with Mandarin oranges that I really do not comprehend, because like I mentioned, you have to prepare, like let's say you are visiting multiple families, you have to prepare a lot of Mandarin oranges, and let's say you have people visiting you, you'll be having a lot of Mandarin oranges. Either way, nobody can finish that many Mandarin oranges. Honestly, like, so what ends up happening is that most people do not consume all of the Mandarin oranges,
which is a waste lor.
But they do like to put it on their desks, especially like for people who work in offices, and they just leave it there for like good luck until it rots.
Because the scent is nice at least. Then I guess it's gonna rot.
Okay, it doesn't rot. It just like solid, like it just becomes dehydrated and like shriveled up. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, my family will try to binge eat everything. Oh,
and it's not even good for you, like, because it's so high in sugar.
Binge eating anything is not good for you. But yeah, I agree. Heaty.
It's very heaty, which is another concept in Chinese medicine. Basically, that some things and foods are heaty and some are cold.
凉.
Yeah, so
it's like if you're on your period, don't eat the cold stuff.
Yeah, like basically Mandarin oranges are considered heaty, and what happens when your body is heaty is that you tend to feel like inflamed, your throat gets dry and like sore throat kind of things. Yeah, so it's anyway, now enough about complaining about Mandarin oranges.
Wait, before we move on to the non-food part, right, I just want to say that I feel like over the years, because my parents are aging and I become more and more health conscious, right, my family no longer buys any of these things.
Oh yeah.
And also because of COVID, you don't swap anything with people, right, for the sake of like everybody's health. So I mean, it's a bit sad that we're not continuing any customs, but on the other hand, it's also good that we're being more aware of our consumption. So
I think about buying all of this, right, it has to do with whether or not you have people coming over.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so like if you had people coming over, it is really not up to you whether or not you want to buy.
Like good hospitality is a basic social expectation.
Yeah. So we will talk about not having people coming over later. But the last thing that we'll talk about that Singaporeans do that mainland Chinese people don't do is wear cheongsams. You know, like, okay, so basically Singapore is multiracial, but isn't most countries, but anyway. So Singapore likes to celebrate that multiracialness by kind of like playing up certain racial I won't say stereotype, like certain racial attributes. So they like to on Racial Harmony Day, on major festivals, say wear your traditional costumes, wear your ethnic costumes, and you know, eat your ethnic foods and all that kind of things. So one example would be cheongsam. Cheongsam is 旗袍 what?
As in, okay, cheongsam actually translates to changshan.
Yes.
And it's a little bit, the cut is a little bit different from 旗袍. I would say cheongsam is more like a wider variety than 旗袍.
Cheongsam is the Cantonese word for changshan, which is I learned a little bit about this in during the fashion history portion of my module.
Nice.
So long story short, cheongsam is actually gender neutral, even though it's people these days associate it with just scantily clad women.
Yes. But long slits all the way up their ass, that kind.
And like extremely figure hugging.
Yes.
But it actually it used to be cheongsam or changshan is gender neutral, and it was for a very long time exclusive to men. So first of all, cheongsam is not even Han Chinese.
Yes, that is very true.
I'm so sick and tired of this. Okay. Okay. So cheongsam or 旗袍 is what most people, like most of the world, will associate with Chinese people when it comes to ethnic clothing. But this was popularized a lot by traditional, like, mainstream media and like movies during the Republican era of new modern China,
which came right after
Qing Dynasty. Qing Dynasty.
Yes.
So actually the cheongsam, which started around like the modern iteration of cheongsam, which started around the 1920s, it happened after the Qing Dynasty. And the Qing Dynasty was a rule during China by the Manchus.
Yes.
So if you are not aware, in China there are 56 different races of people in modern day China, and the majority is Han Chinese. So about close to 95% or more is Han Chinese. So the Manchus were a minority, an ethnic minority ruling over the Han majority. So they had a different way of life. They were nomadic people before like they ruled over Han China, and then they have a very different way of life. They have different language, they have different cuisine, they have different way of dressing. But in order to effectively rule over China, they assimilated themselves with the Han Chinese, but also make the Han Chinese take on a lot of their way of life, including the very infamous shaving of the Han Chinese head, like for males.
Yeah.
And
so it looks like you have receding hairline from a very young age, basically. Yeah.
And they had, and all the men were forced to wear braids. So there was a whole like uprising about this. But long story short, the Manchus, prevailed. So the cheongsam is actually an adaptation of the Manchurian traditional clothing, which is a long. Now I realize that if you've never seen a cheongsam, which is unlikely, but it is actually a long dress with long sleeves that is very straight cut with slits down the side of each side of your thigh.
Yes.
So it was
easier
originally
to
ride horses, so you can get out on horses easier. It was actually originally meant for men only, and women almost always did not wear they almost always wore two articles of clothing. So like they would have a blouse and a dress, like a skirt. So the cheongsam, the one article of clothing, was exclusively for men. And then after the modern China, women started dressing in cheongsam kind of as a way of being modernized, and like after being liberated from Qing dynasty, like Imperial China, to rejoin society, they kind of started adopting the dress of men to go to schools and stuff like that. So that was when it started becoming gender neutral, and then later becoming very much exclusive to women. So that was a very long backstory, but the point is cheongsam is not Han Chinese, even though people associate it with China. But that doesn't stop Singaporeans from wearing it during Chinese New Year and Racial Harmony Day. Particularly children, they love to dress children in cheongsam.
Yes, that's very true.
And it's adorable, don't get me wrong, but it's just very, like, the irony is not lost that they are wearing something that they think is Chinese, but it's not. Not okay. I'm not saying that Manchurians are not Chinese, but it's just not like
it's not harmful lah.
It's not harmful. It's not what they think it is.
Yeah. Another reason why people don't tend to wear cheongsam in China during CNY is because it's very cold.
It's because there's actually seasons there.
Yeah, like it's actually winter in China during Chinese New Year. But I do know that now that there's the Hanfu resurgence, right? There are people who sell very, very nice like fur-lined cheongsam with like very nice cloaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like tailor-made cheongsams can be very expensive.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, okay. Now that we have finished talking about all the Singaporean aspects of Chinese New Year, let's talk about more China aspects of Chinese New Year that we have personally experienced over the years. So this is not representative of all of China. Neither is it representative of all like Chinese immigrants in Singapore. But it is our personal experiences of what Chinese New Year has been like over the years in Singapore. So do you want to start off with the first point?
Okay, I'll just say some very generic stuff, then we move on to our own regional differences. So the one generic stuff is we don't fly back to celebrate Chinese New Year because, okay, for some people, let's say they're Malaysian Chinese, they just take a bus to JB, Johor Bahru, right? For us, we need to pay the plane tickets back and forth just for a few days, and it's like, not very hot for us.
Only 2 days of public holiday. Imagine if it falls on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. Like in China,
whole week.
You get like 2 weeks of holidays.
Oh, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay. In China, they do this thing where they shift around the weekdays and the weekends so that you like stuff everything into one long holiday. Singapore doesn't really do the rotation.
Yeah. Also because Singapore like doesn't have like basically Singapore had to accommodate to the different races. So each race like their festivals gets a public holiday.
Yeah.
So
imagine if you give 2 weeks to every single race.
That would be insane.
We can stop working.
You can stop working already. Yeah. So like it doesn't work. Like you can't. It's just logistically impractical for us to visit family during Chinese New Year.
But now that there's WeChat video call, we do that. I guess. Yeah.
Before WeChat video call, I had to call. Do you have the phone cards? Like the international call card.
Oh my god, yes! Wow, I forgot that memory there, honestly.
Yeah, so I remember when I was in like primary school, before WeChat and the World Wide Web was a thing, I would have to, during Chinese New Year, call all my relatives using the international call card and be like, Happy Chinese New Year, 恭喜发财, you know, all that kind of stuff, and they'll be like pretending to sound interested.
I have like really vivid flashbacks of like using the coin to scratch out the silver backing. Oh my god!
Yes.
Whoa! Yeah, but like, okay, it might sound a bit sad that we don't get to enjoy the whole festivity, right? But on the other hand, we get to avoid the parents parading us around and making us perform piano pieces well. And you don't get as much comparison with your cousins and all that stuff.
Yeah, like all the like every single year when people complain about Chinese New Year, it doesn't matter if it's from like the Chinese internet or like the Singaporean friends and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I just can't relate because I don't have anyone to talk to me or anything. Like I don't have any family to visit or anyone to visit me. So it's just like any other weekend for me.
Yeah. Oh, on a side note, right, I remember there was like a few years ago, someone created a public Google Doc in Singapore called Chinese New Year Microaggressions. And it's really just all the things your relatives will ask you. When are you gonna get a girlfriend? When are you getting a job? Like all those things.
Like, why do you get so fat?
Yeah, same you.
Yeah, like
so we don't have that. Thank goodness. But what we do have is, okay, for my family, we will buy new clothes for the year. Okay, a lot of these things I'm gonna say are things I used to do with my parents as a kid, but we don't do anymore because we're more health conscious, lazier, and all that. Yeah, okay, we will clean stuff because
spring cleaning.
Yeah, it's called spring cleaning because you want to make sure that you clear all the old and dirty stuff out of your house before you bring in the new year. And then we will paste calligraphy that my mom's colleagues wrote. Cause I think one of my mom's colleague is quite a famous calligrapher in Singapore. So he would start galleries and stuff like that. And then nani? yeah. So he will write calligraphy for us. And then we will cook a shit ton of stuff that we cannot finish eating. So what my dad does is we cook one shot, one meal, then we eat the meal for the rest of the day. 初一、初二、初三 eat the 除夕 food. Yeah, and I do have family friends. So like we used to play card games and simultaneously burn bridges because card games sometimes ruin relationships. And quite funny to watch the adults yell at each other lah.
I did none of that. It was just me, my mom, and my grandma, and it would just be an average weekend. Like it was of being at home and doing nothing because I just genuinely had no family to visit or no one to visit me. Yeah, so it was very boring.
Wait, actually on the family aspect of things, I feel like, okay, because my family is kind of chaotic in a bad way also, but I feel like over Chinese New Year there's always a let's keep a guise of peace and harmony, you know?
Oh god, yeah.
So like my parents will just not quarrel for one day, but after that it's just all the way back to the past, man. So
I remember when I was in secondary school, right, I wrote 作文, like an essay on Chinese New Year. And I just, basically it was, I think I was like 13 or 14 at the time, and I thought I was, you know, the teenage angst. Like,
I get it also.
Yeah, you think you're the best writer in the world and whatever not. So I wrote an essay on like how mundane and lonely my Chinese New Year was. And then my teacher was like, this is a bad essay.
What? Hey, that's bad ass.
I don't think he said this is a bad essay to my face. He was like, this is not your best work. I think he said something along the lines of, you can write better than this. Like he just I guess he just completely, the message of a sad and honestly genuinely like depressed 13-year-old completely flew over his head, and he just saw it as this is a very mediocre piece of writing. I was like, and then
oh man,
like if I were to reread it, I will probably get the message that this kid probably needs some counseling. But no, he just completely is like, yeah, what happened to your essays recently? Like, why are they not up to par? And I was like, okay,
no.
yeah, no taken.
Wait,
so,
was that like Sec 2, Sec 3?
It was Sec 2, like beginning of Sec 2.
I think that was probably...
Do you know who my Chinese teacher is?
I don't know. You can spill the tea later. It's like, I remember during that period of time we were trying to learn this kind of essay called descriptive writing, 描写文. And I think right, your teacher probably just graded you in a very like unemotional way. Like this person is not writing colourfully enough compared to everybody else. Yeah. Without really seeing you as an individual.
Yeah, but anyway. So yeah, like I guess for us it's not that we don't have good memories of Chinese New Year. It's just that it's not the conventional like festive, big family, everyone reunion kind of like hoo hoo ha ha, that kind of idea. And as we've gotten older, we've genuinely like gotten a lot more practical. I think most people do, where you don't so there's this like Chinese New Year tradition of staying up for like the
守岁
守岁 on Chinese New Year Eve. Basically, what's the purpose of 守岁?
I remember it was related to something like you need to see the year pass by peacefully, and then
it has something to do
12
with safety and like the longevity of your parents. I don't
Yeah.
know why, but basically like the longer
why-
you stay up, the longer your parents live. I don't
It's
know
like
why.
守岁 is like protect the year.
Yeah,
years,
something
like
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody really does that anymore. We just go to bed before 12. Like, nobody cares. And the holidays is just like an excuse to eat.
Oh wait, okay. Now we move on to like the highlight of 春晚. I guess for us. Wait, highlight of Chinese New Year for
She
us.
gave it away. She gave it
Shit,
away.
I was so excited. Which is 春晚.
Okay, the full name is 春节联欢晚会.
The full name is 中央广播电视总台春节联欢晚会.
Which translates to
The Spring Festival Gala.
Yeah, Spring Festival Gala that is hosted by the CCTV, which is China Central Television.
Yeah.
The state television. Okay, but honestly, every single like
region has it. But the
the
first TV channel to even have it is the Central Television, because back then China didn't have a lot of money and resources to broadcast all that. Yeah, so I would say that 春晚 is the time Jingnan and I spares at each other. Then we like telegram each other every time.
It is the one time of the year I contact Wu Fan.
Okay, bye. Yeah, okay. So a little history about 春晚, right? Now it's like quite a globally known phenomenon, but actually started off with the first time it was broadcasted to the world was 1983, and actually before that, in 1979, it was like started off as pre-recorded shows. Yeah. And then in the 1980s, they were like very chaotic impromptu performances. So if you see the 春晚s now, right, there's been like hundreds of rehearsals and like hundreds of, okay, is this show good enough? Do we like take it out at the last minute, this kind of stuff. But back then it was really just like chaotic impromptu performances. They just invited like the well-known singers, dancers, 小品演员, not 小品, like actors, sketch comedy performance and all that. And then there will be this like back room with like maybe 40-50 people whose job is just to pick up phone calls from people all over China who request for XXX to perform item YYY. So it's like really, really chaotic. Then there'll be people like running in holding like a paper where they just write out a list of things that they want people to perform. Like, I watched this documentary of how 春晚 started, and like I was so amazed that people cared so much about it and called it, like, it was really chaotic but very fun. Yeah. According to the old people who started it lah.
So 春晚 has now become like the thing to watch during Chinese New Year Eve. So it starts Chinese New Year Eve around 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And it lasts until 12 midnight, because there is like a little bit longer. Like,
and then there's an after party.
There's an after party.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess the only Western equivalent I can think of is like the Super Bowl show. Like the Super Bowl kind of event. Like, it's the one event of the year where everyone is tuning in from their television.
I'm not tuning to Super Bowl, man.
I said for like the Westerners, that kind of influence it has, that it's in every television. It's on every television in every Chinese household, and it does. And recent years, like CCTV and the Chinese government, the Communist Party, has become very tech savvy. They actually managed to so in the past you could only watch it in China. Now you can actually watch it on YouTube live as it's happening.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting, because it's like their way of trying to shove propaganda down other people's.
It's like YouTube is banned in China, but we can put stuff out onto YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, it is to the benefit of a lot of people, like Chinese communities living outside of China.
Yeah.
But it's also their subtle way of trying to force people to consume more Chinese media.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so integral, like, to Chinese New Year like celebration these days, and everyone just watches it or puts it in the background.
Like if you look at like population wise, the highest number of China is the home country of the highest number of people who are living abroad.
Yeah.
And as of 2012, 春晚 is the most viewed TV show according to the Guinness's records.
Yeah.
Which is like 10 years ago. I think it's quite impressive.
11. It's 2023.
Oh my god, it's 2023! Screaming, crying.
Yeah.
But
so do you want to talk about what kind of are the must-have items for every single year of 春晚?
Okay, so we keep talking about how there are like 56 racial groups in China, right? So there will always be at least one dance performance which just has people donning the costumes of 56 racial groups. And then they will do like the very, I guess, stereotypical dance moves of each racial group.
Yeah.
But the people who are wearing the costumes are not necessarily from that group.
Yeah, they're definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like they will always start the show. Oh my god. They would start the show from multiple locations. And this is what it's been like in the past
few years
recent years.
Yeah.
Where they will have like this extremely extravagant and like just way over the top. Like if you think that, you know, like Oscars or whatever are over the top, you are sorely mistaken. They will have like giant formations of thousands of people in neon lights and like costumes.
And nowadays like 3D virtual
projections, holograms
and robots who are doing choreography in the sky.
Yes, like
all that.
You think we are joking and we're being like stereotypical.
We are not.
There were actual performances of people like doing wushu, like 1,000 kids, like 1,000 genuine children doing choreographed like kung fu practice moves at the top of a mountain, and it's all captured on like drones. And like I know it sounds so crazy China, but it is like it's like China dialed up to like a 12.
But say real, China has a lot of talented people who are very young, and a lot of them. Like there's no shortage.
There's just so many people in China.
Yeah, say real. For Chunwan, like mostly we look out for like the celebrities we like, the sketch comedians that are damn funny. And another thing is like I feel like a lot of very, very good dance cultural productions are being pushed forward for the world to see. Like last year there was like 只此青旅, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, which is it's actually a very it's actually just one excerpt from a very huge theatrical dance performance about this artist in ancient China whose talent was not being recognized until his death, where people opened his scroll and he painted this super gorgeous bluish greenish sparkling painting of mountain ranges. And so
he died very young, right?
Yeah.
He died at 18, I think.
I cannot remember the specific age, but it's like a very, very sad story, and it's very inspirational. And then like so the excerpt of the ladies who are dancing, they personify the mountains, and like the dance moves are just like, it's so unconventional because they have to move in straight angles, which is not a very conventional thing to do in Chinese classical dance. But like it was just so amazing that this like through Chunwan, I got to know a lot of Chinese dancers. Yeah, so I'm very grateful for that.
A lot of comedians, I would say, got their rise to fame from Chunwan.
Yeah.
So a good example is Zhao Benshan, Song Dandan, and also what's that guy's name? The one who with Zhao Benshan, the 不差钱.
Oh, 范伟.
No.
不差钱. 小沈阳.
So like a lot of like it was to perform on Chunwan is the biggest deal for any artist.
It's like an honor to be invited by CCTV to perform.
Yeah, it is, because it is the most watched show for Chinese people the entire year. So if you made it, it's indicative of two things. First, that you are popular enough that like CCTV invites you, and second, that it's kind of like to be invited to perform or even just be featured. It's kind of like an honor in itself. You know, like it's kind of like receiving an award, like where if you've been on Chunwan, you can kind of boast about it. It's like being like a New York Times bestselling author.
Yeah.
Like it's a title you can add to your resume if you have if you are a celebrity or an artist and you've been on Chunwan.
Or like some people like Xiao Shenyang, he started off not very famous, but because he was tied to a famous person who brought him in as part of his performance.
Yeah, like his performance on Chunwan made him famous overnight.
Yeah.
And also like there are people who were kind of famous, people who were moderately well known, but because of their performance on Chunwan became like a viral sensation overnight.
Yeah.
The 五环之歌 from 小岳岳
岳云鹏 who's also a crosstalk performer.
Yeah, so like if you a crosstalk is one of the things that so another thing that is like very staple for Chunwan would be there will be definitely people singing, definitely people dancing, definitely acrobats or kung fu of some kind.
Oh yeah, really
and
insane.
Then definitely having
a ton of sketch comedians,
comedians, and then sketches, and also the crosstalk.
京剧, Chinese, there's also Chinese opera.
Oh yeah, Chinese opera for sure.
Yeah.
And then
also Chinese opera from various parts of China, and then they mash into one whole medley.
Yeah.
And then there's like people doing insane kung fu moves because to master in this art form, you need to be very flexible and very strong at the same time.
Like Chinese opera is not just about singing, it also has a lot of physicality. Like you have to be able to do somersaults and like backflips and stuff like that
Technical stuff.
in order to be a Chinese opera performer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also like another thing that they like to do is they like to push a lot of CCP narratives during Chinese New Year, during Chun Wan, because it is like that one time of the year they have that reach to kind of rewash people's brains like for the new year and like, you know, push their propaganda out.
Nervously.
So they like to kind of push heavily on certain narratives, including one China, one China policy. So they love to have artists not just from mainland China but from Hong Kong and Taiwan. Macau, but mostly like Hong Kong, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau. Basically, it's like a look at us. We are one big happy family. We are functional. Like it's like your family. Like we are functional. Like look at these Taiwan artists who are so proudly singing on the biggest mainland Chinese show. So it's a very, and they will always put so for example, when you have a celebrity appear on screen, they will have the name at the bottom of the screen.
Oh my god!
And they would put bracket. So let's just say Wu Fan bracket, instead of Taiwan, it will be China Taiwan. Yeah, 中国 Taiwan. It translates to China Taiwan or China Hong Kong. And it's just like they just love to have like these celebrities, and it's kind of a known thing in Hong Kong and Taiwan where certain if those celebrities perform on CCTV, they are kind of like there are different attitudes. Some attitudes are like, they're just earning a living, you know. And some people are like, you know, how dare they? But it's just the CCP will use every opportunity they get to be political and make political statements like that. And
I just remember like because the MCs will be always like coming out to say New Year greetings from time to time. And they were like 祝所有海外侨胞、台湾同胞、香港同胞 blah blah blah, you know? They will really like specify the region. So
to, you know, really lay thick that we are all one big family.
There's also Chinese armies also have attached like performing arts groups so that, you know, they can boost the morale and stuff like that. So there are quite a lot of like really good singers who mainly sing like, they learn very like opera,
like classical styles
of singing. Yeah, like there's this one particular one I remember called Cai Guoqing, and he has been singing on CCTV for like every single year, and he seems to not age. But yeah, most of the nice songs that they sing, right, it sounds very nice until you read the lyrics, and it's always about like Tang Lao, like
the party, about Mao.
It's always and then it will like harken back to those days when Mao Zedong's army had to like swim across the entire Yellow River. It's like all about the hardships and like, oh my god, we are so grateful for the blood you bled for the country and all that, but packaged into a very empowering sounding song.
Can I just say that the Chinese national anthem is actually very
gory? Yes.
Yeah. So there tends to be a lot of like nationalism that's sold into the entire performance and narrative of Chinese New Year, Chun Wan.
Oh, there's also like a softer power aspect of it, which is like muscle flexing the technology of like we have all these drones and robots. And then there will be recent years there's also like this year we sent how many spaceships up to the moon.
Oh god!
And then like they will get the new astronauts to come up, and then like how was the experience and all that stuff.
The most recent year I think that they literally contacted the international space station and they got the astronaut in space to say it was a live stream like to say like a blessing from it was. Yeah, can I just say, okay, side note, I think last year, it was either last year or last year, they got, they had a performance. It was like a very child-friendly, like literally children singing and dancing on the stage. It was about like China's efforts in space. And they got a kid, like a little young girl, to say like, Mom, can you plug one of the stars for me or something like that? Do you remember this?
I don't remember.
And then after that, I was like, that's so stupid. And I was like, that's so stupid. Like, that children be dumb. And then my mom turned to me and said, she's like, that's a real thing that happened. Like, so apparently, the first female Chinese astronaut to space, she was already married and already had a kid before she went to space. So right before she went off, So this is apparently a true story. Her daughter asked her, "Mom, can you bring me a star back when you come back?" It was so adorable. Yeah, can you plug one of the stars for me and bring it home? And I was like, oh my god, so they incorporated that into the performance.
Later she bring back the space trash. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but it was like, it's just things like that when they get to you, you know?
Yeah,
like
okay, but honestly though, like they always have those like people who are working very hard in other provinces, and then they go back to their villages and they're like 团圆 and reunite with everyone. I always cry like I cry at every single insurance advertisement and all that. I cannot they really, oh my god, like I feel like CCTV's like narrative power is so strong nowadays. Like their filming and like the stories that they tell.
Can I just say, on that note, right, every Chinese, like every Chunwan, they would have a section where they give out awards to Lao Mos.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Lao Dong Mo Fan, which translates to
like models who have like
models of morality, models of hard work,
diligence. People who might have sacrificed their lives even for like certain things.
And they would get like, so basically every year they would select extraordinary individuals who have displayed these characteristics, and they will award them for these for being such wonderful people basically, and they will give them medals on national television. Like it's just so bizarre if you talk about this to other people. And then they also love to bring old soldiers who are genuinely so old. like
then they'll be wearing all like their medals.
Every single one of it's like all of those pins, and they'll be like, this one I got from my Vietnam War in 1970. Like, you know, that kind of vibe. And like so it's so like it really tugs on your heartstrings, but at the same time you know you're being manipulated.
Yeah, I get that. It's like my brain and my tears are both leaking juices at the same time. That's how I feel. It's like sometimes because Chongwan will play like on repeat for the next few days on CCTV. So I watch it once, then I just cry one shot. Then the next few times I'm watching, I'm like,
actually, why did I cry?
What the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that being said, even though like the propaganda is kind of pushed in your face, like the people who have done those extraordinary things, they really are extraordinary lah.
But they are also being used as tools and weapons.
Yeah, so like on one hand you celebrate them as who
individuals.
They are. Yeah, individuals for sure. But on the other hand, just be aware
that you are being manipulated by the Chinese government. Why do you always come back to this? But yeah. So these days, every single year, the Chunwan is such like a big deal, and everyone has their eyes on it. Like everyone's holding on the microscopes waiting for people to mess up. Another thing that they love to do during Chunwan is magic performances.
Oh, okay.
We will get to Jia Chang. So they love to do magic performances, like have magic performances. And for honestly, like over a decade, I think it was this guy called Liu Qian who was from Taiwan.
Taiwan, yes.
And his tagline was like
见证奇迹的时刻
like time to witness a miracle.
Yeah.
So he is honestly one of, I think he's like internationally critically acclaimed for his like performance abilities as a magician, and like he is just so well known. Like he's a household name in China for his magic tricks and performances during Chunwan. And every single year, while he is like live streaming his performance and showing off his magic on TV, there'll be people, the moment he starts like showing the tricks, right, there'll be people trying to dissect and like break down how it's done. And the next day it will be all over the internet. So this is how it was done and stuff like that.
Also like he used to be like paired with one of the MCs called Dong Qing, and then she'll be like 我真的不是托 which means like, how do I say this? I'm not in cahoots with him.
Yeah, I'm not in
cahoots. Like, I'm actually like honest. I'm not like pretending, but honestly every year she's pretending lah. But it's just at one point it just becomes a trope lor.
It's just very funny, but yeah.
That's why they call, you know, like Dong Qing had a very funny nickname for those figures called 托塔天王. Which is like, it's I don't even know how to explain this. There's this, okay, 托塔天王 is actually this guy who's actually Nurcha's dad. Yeah, good summary.
Anyway, another thing that Wu Fan was talking about was lip syncing.
Yeah.
So actually, initially they had people perform live for the singing performances. I mean, you can't fake dance, but you can fake sing.
Yeah.
So I think it all went downhill from the Wang Fei performance in like 2008 or something. okay, so long story short, Wang Fei is this Fei Wang
super
is a
famous.
super famous like Mando pop / Canton pop singer. She actually, I think she had like when she was in Hong Kong for a part of her career, and she came back to mainland China, and she was not very active for a very long period of time.
But
and
every time she sings, it's like a big
it's
hoo-ha.
like it's a very big hoo-ha because basically she has a very unique and ethereal kind of voice.
Yes.
But she does not have a very strong control over her voice. And also at this point in time when she like performed in 2008, it was about like a good 10 years before she had like between the last time she performed, and she was performing with what's that guy's name, the one with the crazy hair, the
what
she was singing 因为爱情 with
Chen Yixun.
Eason. So
Chen
Eason was literally on crutches. It was so funny. That performance is so chaotic. But long story short, Eason was on like pitch the whole time, and you can see on his face because it was live, he was trying to hold it in and not laugh. And then Fei Wong was so completely out of tune. But because it was live, there's nothing they could do about it. So they called it like the biggest car wreck. The biggest car wreck of a live performance. And from then onwards, all the live performances were like lip syncing essentially to prevent this kind of like embarrassment from happening.
Because at the end of the day, like just like how we say that parents tend to show off their kids to their relatives. China is showing off Chunwan to the rest of the world, so you can't really screw up.
So it's just very funny.
Like that being said, right, because of the stress, I know that a lot of like especially the sketch comedians, they get very tired because like the stress builds up for like the entire year that like over time it's no longer like a glorious thing for them. It's really like, oh my god, this is too stressful, I cannot do it anymore.
So apparently basically the preparation, I remember seeing the host and like the director talk about the gala. Basically the day after the gala, they start preparing for next year's gala. It's that intense. And for people who are set up to perform, so I think it's a little bit more relaxed these couple years, but in the past it was like basically whoever is performing, like the name list of who's performing is supposed to be like top secret. So you're supposed to sign an NDA. It will be to the point where people are asked, like, let's say the regular appearances, like let's say Xiao Yue Yue or like Yue Yingpeng, like, hey, are you performing in next year's gala? And they will like dodge the question because they legally cannot answer you. It's so intense and it's genuinely hilarious.
But it's also kind of sad because like sometimes at the very last minute your item might be cancelled. And you really like some people, they have to fly to Beijing to perform, right? Because they're not like, they don't live in Beijing. And that also means that it kind of ruins their CNY plans.
But it's just like it's such a cultural phenomenon that it involves so many people that it's just hard to imagine.
Oh wait. Sorry.
No, it's
okay. I just remember a really funny anecdote because like we talk about how like performing is so stressful and some people have to like be apart from their family for this, right? I just remember that there's this one time one of the reporters were asking this celebrity called Lu Han.
Oh god.
Like 春晚不可以跟家人团聚怎么办? Like you can't reunite with your family over CNY. Do you feel very sad? And he's like, 没有啊，我打个车就回家. Because he's actually a Beijing native. So he said like after he performs, he just take the cab then he go home.
It's so funny because the reason why it's so funny is because the interviewer was setting it up to be a sob story. The interviewer was trying to get it to be a sad moment for everyone to feel sorry for him, because like that's just the vibe of like, okay, guilt tripping is just the whole vibe of CCTV and Chinese culture in general. So it was just absolutely hilarious for that to be like a Uno reverse on the interviewer. Okay, any random last thoughts before we conclude?
Oh, I remember. Okay, I had this like little reflection on rituals in general. Rituals are just lived experiences that people repeat over time, and if it snowballs into something that is very meaningful, more people will take it up. But sometimes when more people take it up, the meaning gets lost because it's just repetition. But like what I realized is like sometimes parents feel this need to like go through the motions so that they teach culture to their kids, right? But then at our age, like for my parents now, it's just like 意思意思就行 lah. Like we just do it so that like you know
you
lah.
do it for the sake of
it. You know that this thing exists lah. So like when you grow up, you decide whether you want to keep the tradition yourself or not. But my job here is done. That's kind of how I feel. And I just feel like it's very cool how like rituals that differ across family also. Because to me, culture and tradition constantly adapt to the new environment, be it physical or social. So for example, in Singapore, we don't have nice winter, so we don't have a lot of like the nice winter tradition things, and we also can't, you know, do like New Year firecrackers because
it's
the government said so. Yeah, so we have our own rituals which consist 99% of pigging out and getting fat.
Yeah, I agree. It's very much the case also like you see in recent years of people having Friendsgiving and Friendmas instead of having actually spending those holidays with their family in the Western like world because family is so unbearable for them. A lot of these things are rituals and habits and tradition and customs are lived experiences of individuals and what they choose to preserve.
Yeah.
Going into adulthood and having children of their own or just having those festivities on their own.
Yeah, it's like how family is like the friends you choose, not the family you're born into. Laughs nervously.
Yeah, so I guess like to conclude, yeah, we have dogged on a lot of the stereotypes of Chinese New Year in both Singapore and in China. But at the end of the day, it is an ongoing tradition and festival that kind of evolves over the years. If you look at Chun Wan today, is very different from even 10 years ago. It's a constant evolving, changing phenomenon, and I do think that Chinese New Year, there's like other things that we didn't cover. So like
for sure.
Yeah, like one of the things is like 抢红包 on WeChat.
Oh my god, that's very true. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different like nuances to even things as like straightforward as festivals. So you know how like there's like commercialization of Christmas, there's also commercialization of Chinese New Year, and how technology changes the way people communicate and celebrate Chinese New Year. So yeah, these are all things that are very interesting and are parts of culture, like you said, that we are fascinated by. So if you celebrate Chinese New Year, that's all the best, you know, like have a good time. Hope you don't get passively aggressively microaggressed by your relatives. If you don't celebrate Chinese New Year, maybe like tag along with a Chinese friend and ask
them. They will feed you very well.
They will feed you unhealthy, oily snacks that are loaded with sugar. Very good. Yeah. So either way, we hope you enjoy Chinese New Year for 2023 and hopefully for many years to come. So, and if you are born in the year of the rabbit or a few other zodiacs, maybe buy some red underwear.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's about like praying for good health, good fortune,
and a good year ahead. And with that, we've come to the end of our episode. Do you want to plug our social medias?
Okay, firstly, Happy New Year. And secondly, we actually have an Instagram out, so you can follow us at china.through.SGlasses. Yeah.
So hopefully we can see you again for the next episode. And that's all. Bye!
Bye!